Friends, sorry, I'm a little tardy coming in. Yeah, feel like a junior high kid coming into class. How many unexcused tardies do I get to burn this semester, sir? Yeah, here we are. Happy post Thanksgiving. How many of you hosted? hmm How many of you gave like a serious knuck to your life mate after you hosted and said we flippin' did it? Yeah, and then went and crashed someplace because that's a lot of work, isn't it? Yeah. I tell you what, you go from working your asses off to come on in, everybody, family. We've been preparing food for the last 12 hours, and go ahead, sit down over there. We're going to keep preparing food. And yeah, sure, there's a football game on. Go sit after everybody's done eating. Yeah, go sit. And then it's another 3.5, 4 hours of cleanup. And you just keep a smile on your face the whole time, right? Because that's what we do. Lots of parallels there, right? But so much to be grateful for. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. I think it's kind of silly that we kind of like mark a day and go, all right, now we're going to just squeeze as much gratitude out of this. Man, it's just a metronomic walk of life, isn't it? To be grateful, to be joyous in the holiday season. I hope I'm as joyous in the dark days of February as I am this month. Yeah, without all of the mall music playing in my ear. Anywho, yeah, hope you've got a good tailwind at your back. You got the wind for the rest of this first half. Happy still first semester, but many of you are really gearing up for the second semester fun. Budget planning again, program design, redelivery, re-engineering, all of the operational projects. Whew. Yeah. Here we go again. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Okay, question. Here we go. Agree or disagree? Agree or disagree? Go ahead. Just answer the question. Go ahead. Agree or disagree? On what, Joe? Okay, here's the question. Agree or disagree? We've hired some of the most amazing individuals over the last few years. Agree or disagree? Yeah, most people say, heck yeah. Yeah. Second question, agree or disagree? Our teams are underperforming. Yeah, that one you kind of have to like take a breath and go, I got to be honest here and say agree. Yeah, we're filled with a lot of high talented people and we have underperforming teams. So, I will say as I do in any audience, what gives? What gives to that? I have actually just walked through the selection recruitment process on most campuses, K 12 and higher ed, and talk about the pageantry, right? I mean, it, you got to be square, you got to be tight, you got to be everything your people are looking for, plus, right? Yeah. And then you land the job and you go, wow. We've got other people here that have gone through the same kind of gymnastics to get into the joint. So you would think that, yeah, we've got royalty. We've got people that are like tippy top of the game. But when it all comes together, it's usually more frustration than celebration. Yeah, I mean that's just the truth. Because you said yes to both. We have high performing people, but we also have underperforming teams, right? Honestly, 98% of the leaders tell me yes and yes, yes and yes. So again, what gives? What gives to that? Um, Here's some uncomfortable math. All right. Um, I don't have a picture of an ant. If I did, I'd hold up a picture of an ant right now, but just like not like my Aunt Bonnie. We're talking like an ant. Etymology and entomology. Etymology and entomology. I'm not gonna tell you the difference, but there is a difference, and I found out the hard way with a microphone in my hand with a lot of people in front of me going, "Joe, I think you said the wrong word and you really meant the other word." But let's talk about ants for a minute, okay? 250,000 neurons in that ant doing its thing, okay? Doing the ant thing, right? Your CFO, your CAO, they've got 86 billion neurons, right? Honestly, your CFO has 34,000 times more neurons, so 34,000 times smarter than an ant. So explain to me why can an ant colony solve complex routing problems in minutes? You ever just see an ant colony just putting it all together? Well, wow, you're genius. All of those people coming together on your Tuesday cabinet meeting. All right, just spent 3 hours and made zero, nilch, nada, no decisions. Great. Uh, Actually, last week, a university president called me up. We had a virtual coffee, right? I have these almost every day. I love my virtual coffees, honestly. So if there's anything in my yap session here, a little jam session here that you'd like to go, I want to double click on that and ask a few questions from your experience. Let's set up a virtual coffee. I don't know. You found me here, so you can find me there. Just message me or go to the webpage, higherperformancegroup.com. But that's not what we're here to talk about. But this guy said, Joe, I've got some really sharp cookies on my cabinet. I've never had a team this sharp or experienced, or the regalia, if you will, that they carry into every meeting. He's assembled them. So, and they're his team. He hired them, decades of experience. But he said, you know what? We can't make a single decision without 3 meetings, right? Meanwhile, just this, but I need to remind you, the market is moving. The demand market is higher ed is down 1.7 million students. Okay, I don't know. That's probably the size of New Mexico or something, like gone out of higher ed, just gonzo. To all of you in New Mexico, please, that was an absolute guess. Put in the comments how far off I actually was. But yeah, 1.7 million students are gone. K-12 has lost 1.2 million. Where are they going? Because our students still need to be learning, right? Well, e-learning hit $242 billion right now is the e-learning market, which means that students are learning anyplace, anytime, anywhere, right? Yeah, from anyone. And that's just that, right? And the latest, I just picked this up this morning, 63% of Americans now say that a bachelor's degree isn't worth the cost. That's up from 49% 7 years ago. So it's always been a thing, but that thing is really starting to grow some more hair that says, I don't know, we got to cost this thing out. Okay. So honestly, we've got a roundtable tomorrow of campus presidents and school superintendents coming together. And I'm going to talk about this concept called builders, and you got to be a builder. You're a builder by choice right now. And I think we've got about 18 months to figure this out. Or you're going to be forced to build in survival mode. And when you're building in survival mode, it's like, Wilson, right? You got some sticks, maybe. You're trying to make a fire. You don't have much to work with, right? Much fewer resources, less trust, way diminished options, and this tsunami of something new, right? You know what the options are right now. I think there's going to be like a third option that nobody's even thinking about for how we educate our community, that just somebody's tinkering in their garage right now. You know that. Okay. And it's just going to come out and people are going to go, yes, please. That totally makes sense. Right. Because our current systems are broken. Go ahead and click me off right now if you believe that is an abject lie. But our current systems are broken. Here's what I see everywhere. You've got strong people in underperforming systems. You're closing gaps that should have closed years ago, right? I played the role for almost 30 years and I couldn't close the gaps. Well, these are like standard gaps. These aren't, far superior than anybody else type gaps. No. And today you're facing demands that change faster than you can actually respond to. So let's just be honest. Let's just be real. Um, you've got 100% workload and you've got about 60% collective capacity. I'm not making that number up. We do panel research all the time. And the best number that we could crack that talks about the potential of your team's performance is actually 60%. Okay. So think about that 100% workload and 60% potential. What does that mean? It's a 40% gap, obviously. And I think there's a lot of discretionary effort in that gap where it's there. It's like not engagement. What's the opposite of engagement? Come on, you science people out there. Yeah, inertia, right? It's available energy, but it's just not doing nothing, right? So that's the ant paradox. That really is. And 3,000 years ago, King Solomon said, "Go to the ant, you sluggard." It's one of my favorite verses in scripture. Go to the ant, you sluggard. I remember, thinking and meditating on that verse as a young athlete going, I must outwork my component because I got to work like that ant that never stops, right? Go to the ant, you sluggard, consider its ways and be wise, right? 3,000 years ago, he wasn't talking about work ethic. I thought at the time work ethic. He was actually talking more about architecture, right? So here's a question. Here's another the only formula today. P. Yeah. P equals little p minus I. There it is. Go ahead. You have 2 minutes to solve. And fabulous prizes. Fabulous prizes for those that can solve. It's not a It is a problem. It's a big fat problem within our institutions. But you think big P, that's your performance. That is your performance. Those are your big rocks that you're trying to roll right now, the gaps that you got to occlude. Your little p is your potential. Think about the potential that you have, right? 86 billion neurons. You've got, and I've got, okay? The potential is off the charts. It's amazing. It's beyond what anybody might even ask or imagine of the individual. But it's minus the little I. That little I, that's your interference, the stuff that gets in the way, right? So if your performance isn't quite tracking where it needs to go, if you wake up going, "Ugh," instead of, ah, yeah, say leadership and say the part in the middle. Ugh. That's what it is, leadership. It's because it's real. It's hard. You've got demands, performance demands. You've got more potential than you have access to because of your interference. And what are you doing about that? What are you doing about that? Right? You've got coasters. That's part of your interference. You've got people that, are paid well and they go home and they eat well and they sleep even better, but they're your C team, right? They're just kind of your walking zombies. They check the boxes, they do the work. You got your B team that, they're really, they're building good things, but it's 1 + 1 = 2. It's just kind of the standard stuff that they're building. We don't have enough A team players, high capacity, like standing in the doorway saying, I'm really hungry to grow, and I love the mission of this place, and I think we could multiply if we did this, this, and this. It's combustible if we do all of that together, right? That's team intelligence, folks. That's the thing that will overcome the prevailing winds of low potential and maximize interference. It's really an operating system that turns your individual brilliance into that collective genius. And we'll just call it colony genius. If I had my little ant picture here again today, yeah, the ant colony. Actually, Dr. Deborah Gordon at Stanford University studied ant colonies for 30 years. Uh, There's something about ants. I've been just like fascinated, fast because higher perform ants. There you go. There's your dad joke. Higher perform ants. Yeah. Her discovery, oh, ant colonies succeed because they have these interaction protocols. Fascinating. It's just simple communication rules that turn one ant's discovery into like colony level action. Right? One finds food over here, leaves this chemical trail, and the whole colony gets to eat off of that thing. Simple protocol, zero interference. Right? It just works. Uh, there's no budget implication. Not about student need. It's just about demand, taking care of need on the spot, zero synthesis needed, zero integration. Um, yeah. Dr. Michael Fullen, for you educators out there, just a well worn name. Uh, he studied teams and found that teams with higher individual IQ, but low collective or that colony intelligence consistently underperformed teams with strong integration protocols. And that's just mastering the simple stuff. People like us do things like this. That's culture. So how simple and scalable and sustainable is your culture, right? That's what it's about. That's why so many organizations, it's just too complex and we've got to simplify it. It's not about having really smarter ants. It's about having a colony operating system. There's a new thing. I just named something. Yeah, that's heavy. A colony operating system. Yeah, yeah. The tactics will fail if the foundation isn't there. Yeah, you all have urgent need. Market pressure, like I mentioned, right strategy. But if you haven't built that foundation of trust, yes, I'm going into that squishy place of trust. If you haven't truly empowered your people, had a conversation with a room full of special ed directors yesterday, specifically focused on empowerment. And the question was, Joe, we've got some real young leaders. I think they're wearing the team jersey, but they just haven't had enough reps yet. And uh, do we really empower them? No, empowerment. I think empowerment is giving your team the keys and your confidence when they're ready. And it's on you to build their capacity for readiness, right? But if you can't collaborate across those silos, if you haven't managed conflict, uh, that just is going to show up, you're going to stay stuck, right? Sometimes what looks like resistance is actually just a foundation you haven't built yet. So that's why the things that we do in the Team Institute, quick little side note, we work with teams. I don't work with individuals because it's not about the individual. Okay. It's not about the boss. It's not about the college president. It's not about the school superintendent. They were not hired to fix the system. That's the wrong unit. They were hired to build the team, and we can help accelerate that because it usually takes about 6 to 7 years to rebuild a team, and most leaders aren't sticking around that long. Right. So we've got to accelerate that with common tools and common language and common protocols and built around common competencies that you must have if you're going to lead both systems and people. It's not the system side that's a little bit squishy right now. It's the people side, right? Because we don't learn how to lead people very, very well, even in our most elite institutions of learning, right? So Marcus, let me tell you about Marcus, college president, dream team on paper, a nightmare kind of in practice. Marcus, it's not his real name, but you know who I'm talking about. I showed his team this: performance equals your potential minus your interference. His CFO says, "Wait, because I tied it into the whole ant story because I've just been on this ant thing for a while." He said, we're the ants of this institution. We've got all these neurons operating at 60% because we We don't have what these, small neuron little insects have figured out. His CAO, we've been breeding smarter ants when we need to build the colony operating system. They bing, 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 bing. They finally got it. And everything started to change actually, because their job became now, how do we rebuild the team, because the system is broken. The only thing that can fix it is a much smarter team. And Marcus, the leader, didn't just work on tactics. He built the foundation first. And when you think about that foundation, it's comprised again of trust at the very lowest level. We've got to master trust, right? We've got to master how do we empower people. We've got to master how we collaborate together. We've got to master just broadening our influence. The things that are discussed and solved in the boardroom, we've got to be able to create the linkages across the entirety of the campus to actually make things happen. The skills to really lead change, the skills to effectively manage conflict. And ultimately, all of this just dials into the skills to better develop other humans. Because isn't that truly the role of a leader, is to build the capacity of others, right? As they are, not as we are. Yeah. So Marcus started to figure out that and worked around all of the key competencies of of his leadership team, and yeah, there's some pretty amazing things. He's got the same budget that his competitors have, but he's got a different foundation and a different operating system. And he's got this colony intelligence now that is just um, built more collectively smart than most. My wife and I were talking the other day because we've got 3 grandkids, and she's an educator, and she was talking about, well, how remarkable it was that the 2 cousins were playing together. They're 3 and 4, because most of the time it's parallel play, right? I'm playing with my stuff, you're playing with your stuff, and it looks like we're playing together. But isn't that, doesn't that just illustrate what most leadership teams are? We do parallel play together. Yeah. But Marcus figured this out. He said, my meetings went from 3 hours to about 90 minutes. That because of just the manifestation of us working better together. He said our decision-making speed is much faster, probably 50% faster. That implementation consistency, again, about 50% better than what it used to be. We have traction, he said, right? Marcus, he got about 15 hours a week back, where he's just not chasing his tail. He's actually able to do the work again. And I challenged his team, because they're all folks that have later night meetings. I said, just commit to coming in at 9 when you can. And when you can have 20% of your day or your week where you're focusing on your most important work, you've arrived. You've arrived. And I think they're really close to getting there. And retention has improved greatly. He's got his best people that are sticking around because it impacts culture. That's the thing. Yeah, that one leader is building that foundation, but the entire colony is benefiting from the work and the focus. So if you don't build this collective intelligence, you're just going to keep hiring smarter people and then burning them out, because we become crazy. We bring the most brilliant in and we make them crazy busy. Need I say more? Yeah. Yeah. You'll be the only person synthesizing perspectives. You'll watch talented people disengage. You'll wonder why your leadership feels lonely when surrounded by all of these brilliantly smart people. But here's what really matters. When teams can't think collectively, boom, your students are going to pay for it, right? And that's not fair. That's just not fair. Yeah, your mission is fully weighted with what they deserve, right? That 1.7 million who left higher education, they're not waiting. The 1.2 million who left K-12, they all found alternatives. It just wasn't you, right? So while you're in committee, right, the real builders are actually in this new market and just saying, we're going to do things much differently. Every day at 60% capacity equals another day's solvable problems stay unsolved. And you might be a B teamer. You might have a bunch of B teamers, and they're functional and they're fine, but that's just academic language for average. The average superintendent influences 50 leaders, probably 1,000 teachers, 20,000 students, perhaps. When you build colony intelligence, that collective intelligence on solid foundation, you actually multiply the impact across your entire system. And oh, what an impact that is if you're doing it right. But the builders who skip the foundation, they create chaos and not transformation. And these are some very decorated leaders that I see just tripping and just going through the flipping motions. They're beautiful people. Don't get me wrong. I think, and all of them deserving respect for the work that they're doing. It's just that the work is not being done. It really isn't. Yeah. So here's at your next meeting, ask that question. Agree or disagree? We have amazingly talented leaders in our system. Yeah, you know what you're going to get, but ask them anyways. And then agree or disagree. We have underperforming teams. You will get yes and yes. Then the question is, what are you doing about it? If it's yes and yes, you can't avoid the big P is your performance, the work, what you must get done. But I think what is like the independent variable is the little p and the little I. Your potential, I think you can strengthen it, and not by hiring more people. Honestly, those days are gone. You don't have a budget for that. Yeah, you CFO, you just heard me say that, and I can hear you clapping in the background. Uh-huh. That is the old fix. When we have low potential, we just hire more people. That ship has has sailed, baby. Yeah. It's what are we doing to build potential of our existing people, right? Not to burn them out, but to truly and honestly address where's the interference in the system right now? Where is that interference? And the real leaders are going to have real conversations about that and roll their flipping sleeves up and maybe say, you know what? We're not going to go to the 18 conferences this year. We're going to stay back and we're going to do chores on the farm to deal with the interference on campus today. And yes, we might not be nominated for that one thing that they hold in front of themselves and take pictures. And then that thing gets put on a shelf and everybody goes, yeah, that's great, but put your head on a swivel. Let's deal with it. Let's deal with it. Yeah. We can take this lots of different ways, but truly hear me when I say this. It's not an infomercial. It is a life commercial, right? The leader must first be a really healthy person. So you take stock, leader. How healthy are you? It's kind of sobering when I hop on campus. Yeah, I'm not talking about the leaders that have, been vexed with sickness and things like. I'm talking about potentially very healthy people that have just kind of let themselves go. Yeah, you go to any superintendent or big national educational conference, and you just pan the audience, and you see a lot of very, very taken out people. We've got to course correct that, folks. Because that literally is the new commodity is energy. We've got to have the energy to rebuild our systems because our systems are broken. So a healthy person becomes a healthy leader. And that healthy leader decides to build an incredibly smart team who are also healthy, right? And that team is going to take on this broken system and totally Totally recreate the system, new structures, new systems to create an altogether different culture that our communities maybe start writing differently about in the newspaper. And our news channels are picking up not just these fun stories, but truly functionally where we're closing gaps, not just activities that are grabbing people's attention. We're doing the work, okay, and we're seeing those gaps occluded. So enough with that, but let's go back to the ant, you sluggard. I'm not calling you a sluggard. It's all about the architecture, right? It's all about building the right systems and structure, right? So you can keep breeding smarter ants or you can build that colony operating system. Um, but build that foundation first. And if you need some help, it's what we do, right? We just come alongside you and go, all right, here's a bit of a blueprint customized for you, but it's generalized to these common standards that must be fulfilled on any campus, K-12 or higher ed. Solomon told the sluggards to go to the ant 3,000 years ago. But I'm telling the builders today, the tactics don't work without that foundation. Let's build that foundation, right? Uh, your people are 340,000 times smarter than ants. Let's build the foundation that turns intelligence into collective genius. Your community deserves it, really. And your students are counting on it. And the market certainly is not going to wait. You know that. Build like a champion today. So if you want full and free access to this lesson, I've written on it. I've developed every week leader lessons and leader guides. You can have these important conversations with your team on a Monday morning. And you can be the facilitator. You don't need to fly anybody in. Join the group. You can go to my website, higherperformancegroup.com. The group, it's just a collection of humble, hungry, and smart people that come together, a part of a community that says we want to build things differently, right? And we don't have time to do it individually. We must do it collectively in partnership. So go to the webpage, higherperformancegroup.com. You can scroll down and find the group, give it a click, and you're in. No cost, no strings, honestly, just practical resources for leaders that are building smarter systems. I do these virtual coffee things, honestly, every single day with smart and humble and hungry leaders they're working through these exact challenges, some of the stuff that keeps you awake at night. We just put it on the table and go, let's think of that objectively. Yeah. So if you want to talk through your teams, this whole ant paradox thing and what is collective intelligence and is there a system and methodology? How do we diagnose? Are there some assessments? Um, Tell me more about these leader competencies that we need to build first. Um, yeah, find me on my webpage. You found me here, so you can find me. I don't even know how most of this stuff works, but uh, better yet, just message me. Right, message me directly, and we'll get this thing set up. I'll have Uni, my admin, come find you, and yeah, we'll share a cup of joy together and just talk about what's real. Either way, please, comment below this ant paradox thing. Um, how it hits you today, and maybe some of these foundational pieces, what you wish were different in your world. So next week, I'm not quite sure. We always kind of listen to the tracks and try to figure out, all right, what's another topic for the week. Stay tuned. See you next week. Peace, friends.